Josie. I'm a librarian with the Deschutes Public Library. Today we are going to do a nature bookmark craft project together. It could end up looking something like this, but we'll see a couple of different variations. For today's project, we are going to need something natural, flowers, grass, pine needles, leaves, whatever you prefer. You are going to need an iron. So just any household iron will work perfectly fine. You are going to need some wax paper, just any old wax paper from the grocery store, a piece of scratch paper, so a fairly large piece of scratch paper that you don't mind messing up, and scissors. So those are the things you need. Optional would be a little bit of ribbon, scraps are fine, and a paper hole punch. So those two things you do not need, but you can use if you would like to. So those are the supplies. Again, that is an iron, plants or flowers, wax paper, and a piece of scratch paper. Those 4 things are the things you need. Oh, and scissors. Those 5 things are the things you will need today. And the plants can be anything you like. And really, if you wanted to, you could use construction paper instead of plants if you didn't have access to any flowers or grass or anything like that. So those are the supplies we'll need. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the steps visually so you can see what I did to get to the end product. I'm going to change the screen view so that you see me up in the upper hand corner, and you'll see the main view will be of the process that I took to get to our end product. So it just takes a second for me to switch over to screen sharing, and let's see here. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought it should. There we go. Okay. So we are screen mirroring on my phone, and you guys can see all the fun stuff that goes on there. There we go. That's what I wanted you to see. So I went out in my garden and gathered a couple of flowers. You can see my mouse here. I'm still moving it around. This is a poppy. I don't know what kind of poppy it is actually, but it's a pink poppy. These are honeysuckle right here. This is a bachelor button. And this is probably a California poppy, but it could be a Grand Canyon poppy. This is a kind of ornamental grass, these 2 pieces on the side, and this flower in the middle, I don't know what the name is. Maybe we could look it up using a plant app or something like that. So I grabbed my different plants, and that was the first step. Now, these plants are kind of 3D, they're 3-dimensional. We want them to be more 2-dimensional. So what we're gonna need to do first is press them. And this could happen, you know, a day or 2 in advance. So this might be a multi-day process. So I'm just going to show you. I grabbed a magazine I had around the house. This is called, I think, This Old House. I'm not going to use this magazine anymore. I'm done reading it, so it doesn't matter if I leave some plant stains on it. I just laid them all out on the pages of that magazine and then closed it and put a really heavy book on top of it. The Concise Oxford English Dictionary is very heavy. So this is going to flatten those things out because you don't want a bookmark that's chunky. You want a flat bookmark if you're going to put it between the pages of a book. So pressing will help do that. And it will, in our climate also, pressing overnight will get a little bit of the liquid out too, which is good. So I'm pressing the flowers in the underneath the Oxford English Dictionary, which is nice and heavy. And then the next day when I open it up, everything's flatter, which is perfect because that's exactly what I wanted. I want flat flowers. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but maybe I didn't get things as flat as I needed to. So we'll see what happens there. Next, I got a piece of wax paper. Now, you can see in my little picture, I just used plain old wax paper from the grocery store. You can use any kind you want. Any brand you want, doesn't really matter. I got that wax paper and I folded it in half so that the seam was nice and sharp on one side. Now it's kind of curly so it doesn't lay flat, but that's okay. I folded it nice and flat and then opened it up, and you can see where that seam is. It's just a flat piece of wax paper. And you'll notice underneath the wax paper, you might notice is a towel. I don't actually own an ironing board, and that's okay because I can iron on a towel. I put the towel down over my table to protect the table, and then put my wax paper on top of that towel. So that's the background that you see. Next, I laid out the plants that I liked in a design that I liked, a layout that I liked. I like the balance of putting the grass a little diagonal and the flowers on opposite sides. So you can do whatever design pattern works for you or makes sense for you, makes you happy. You know, it's totally free form, whatever design you want to do. Use your creativity and come up with something awesome. So I put that all in and I folded it in half and held it down with my hand. Just to get everything, make sure I liked the layout and get everything in place. Now next, I'm gonna wrap it in that piece of paper. So the paper's folded, just folded around the wax paper. This is to protect your iron and your ironing board from getting waxy, or in my case, my towel from getting waxy. So this piece of paper will get some wax on it, so it's not something that you're gonna be able to use again, and you probably can't recycle it because it'll have that wax on it. So I folded the whole thing in my plain piece of paper, and next got my iron out. You're gonna want your iron on about a medium heat. My iron does not specifically say low, medium, and high. So for my iron, I chose the wool setting, but anywhere, if you have a dial, anywhere like halfway between that dial, high and low is good. It's not an exact measurement or an exact science. So medium-ish is what we're going for. And then you go ahead and let that heat up. I feel like I should pause here and just wait, but this has already happened, so I don't need to wait for it to heat up this time. So we're all set with the iron. It's heated up, and you're going to press down and iron the pieces together. Now you can see here, I've pressed down and the California poppy looks pressed, and the honeysuckle looks pressed, but the grass head in the middle is not pressed at all. So here's where I made my big mistake, and I wanted to share that with you because we all make mistakes, and sometimes that just means you have to recalibrate, redo a step, start over, change tact, and that's okay. It's really good to make mistakes and recover from them. So my grass was too big. I ironed, I pressed, I ironed, and my grass was too big. So what do I do now? I took the iron out, or I took the grass out. So now I have just the California poppy here and the honeysuckle here. And then I made a second one without the grass because that grass is just too big and too bulky to use. So if you wanted to use like a stick or a rock, those would be other things that would be too big, but I didn't realize the grass was gonna be too big. So I pulled it out and I re-ironed. And the ironing, you know, it's just a normal iron where you move the iron back and forth, you push down, and it melts the wax so that it sticks together. So I took my first one and I pulled the grass out and I re-ironed it. And then I made a second one because I didn't like the way the first one looked because it wasn't balanced anymore. And so I ended up with these two separate bookmark prototypes or ideas. And then I decided to play with them a little bit. I mean, this could be the end of your project. You could be like, oh, I'm done, that looks good, going home. But if you want to make it a little bit different, you can. Now, I wanted to kind of fix or change my first attempt. So I just cut it apart. These are much smaller bookmarks than I intended on making, but that's okay. Good recovery, right? I just wanted to make a different usable kind of bookmark. So I just cut those pieces apart with the scissors and went from there. I'm gonna show you really quickly how to do the embellishment if you'd like. So I used my paper hole punch. I punched a little hole in the top and strung the ribbon through that little hole. Now I'm going to stop sharing the screen. So I will be back in the middle. And if you wanted to see more about what that looked like, I'm going to move into my camera and you can see it's a really easy, I'm going to try to make this as viewable as possible. It's a really easy little loop. I just made a loop at the top. You can see how that is. And then I took the other side and put it Ooh, sorry, I know the view is a little challenging here. I put it through. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that visual. So very, very straightforward, simple, and easy. And then you just pull it tight. Now wax paper isn't super strong, so don't like really pull, but you just pull it snug, and then you can get that ribbon on the top of your bookmark. Okay, so just a couple more things that I wanted to show you. Let's go back to our screen share so you can see my my other pictures. This takes a second. There we go. So you saw the hole, you saw how I got there, and the tools that I used to get there. But there's a better picture, because I know sometimes the live filming doesn't show it very well. There's a better picture of what the final ribbon piece will look like. And now, what do you think you're all set to do? Put it in a book. So we've got a bookmark in our book with the ribbon sticking out. And that's a good conclusion. But if you wanted to see something else, I just wanted to show you putting these in a window kind of makes a stained glass effect. So that's another thing that you can totally do with your final project. I found that hanging them near a light bulb also looks really, really pretty, but you can't take a picture of that due to the light, or my camera doesn't do a very good job taking a picture of that due to the light in the background. So your final project could be something to hang in the window, kind of like a stained glass, or a bookmark with a ribbon that looks like this to put in an actual book. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop my screen share. And just really quickly, I want to mention, if you're not comfortable using an iron or you don't have an iron at home, contact paper is a kind of sticky, plasticky paper. You can do pretty much the same thing with that. So if that is something that works better for you, a piece of contact paper, it's the same idea. You just take it, you fold it in half around your plants and press it down so there's no air bubbles, and you're done with that. But if you wanted to do flowers and ribbon, flowers and no ribbon, or, you know, little flowers and no ribbon because I messed up on that grass part, then those are all really great things that you can do quite easily with materials that you might have around the house or that are very easy to get. So thank you so much for joining us today for our nature activity, and we'd love to see what you came up with. So drop us a line at Deschutes Public Library and we will happily see your products. So have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us today. Bye.